Hey there. I am going to try and summarize in 10 to 15 minutes what I do or have done for my arm care in the past week. I've had a lot of questions from people about how do you do it, can you do it by yourself, what's the process like, and things like that. And since that was one of the main questions I had and couldn't find it anywhere on YouTube, I wanted to make a video and show how I took care of mine. Keep in mind, this is how I did mine. It's not necessarily how you should do yours. You need to talk with your physician, your surgeon, about what they want you to do for your care of your arms post-surgery. But this is what I did, and so far it's worked out okay. And I'm following my physician's or surgeon's instructions. So you may have to use your imagination a little bit because I'm not actually going to take this whole thing off. I had almost asked my husband to videotape today while we changed these, but he's been so kind for the past week because it's about a 15 to 20 minute process every time we do this, and we do it twice a day. So he's been very good to help me with that. So that's the first thing I found, is that there's no way I could have done this by myself. I do need someone to help me do this. So let's just go back to the beginning. Let's pretend that I have nothing on my arm right now, and I'll explain the incisions and the drain. Okay, so pretend there's not an ace bandage on here. Underneath my armpit, I have an incision that starts back here and it comes around and it goes up this way and it stops about right here. So again, it's straight and then it curves under the armpit and goes back this way. I'm not sure about how many stitches and things there are. I don't think there's very many surface stitches through here, but when you get to this one right here on the end, there's a lot, and it's sort of ugly right now. The skin is all squished together and bumpy, and that's an area I have to take extra care of, and I'll explain that. And then as I get up here to the end here, it's thicker stitching. So when I take all this ace wrap off, then I take the bandage that's up here off. And then I'm ready to shower. I will have this tube sticking out of my elbow, and if you notice, right now I have the end, this drain goes all the way to this bulb. This bulb is safety pinned to my ace bandage to support the bulb. Otherwise, the bulb would just be hanging on the tubing, and it would be pulling it out of my elbow. So in order to not have any pull against this tube that sticks out, I wrap it around and tape it, because if this tubing's hanging out, it's likely to get caught on the edges of tables, the refrigerator handles, anything you walk by. I caught it on the stairs the other day, the banister on the stairs, and you can just rip it out of your arm. So you need to tape this up, and I did a bad job because I know I'm getting ready to leave in a minute to go get these taken out. So anyway, I usually tape them up a little bit better. So you've got this tube here, or bulb, on the end of the tube, and you have nothing to safety pin it to when you get ready to shower. Same thing for this arm, so you've got two bulbs that you're holding in your arms. So I took this nylon belt. I thought they suggested a hand towel, but I think the nylon works better. It doesn't stay as wet. Took this nylon belt. I could have cut it in half, but what the hell. I just doubled it over, put it around my neck like this when I'm naked, and then I take this side's bulb, safety pin it to the end, take this side bulb, safety pin it to this end, and now they're hanging, giving it support so they're not pulling the tubing out of my elbows, and I'm free to be able to wash and shampoo my hair and things like that. And then when I get out of the bathtub, and I just do it a little bit different every time. Sometimes I lift this whole thing up over my head with the bulbs on it and lay it on the sink in front of me, and I can still move my arms. Sometimes I'll go ahead and get my pants on, and then I'll undo the bulb off the belt, or off the, this belt around my neck, and I'll stick the bulb in the band of my pants just to hold it in place so I can finish drying or whatever. Drying is a little bit tricky. I found that bath towels are too hard to maneuver around all this, so I would put my hair up in a bath towel, and then I'd use a hand towel or a dry wash rag to wash or to dry these more delicate areas. Okay, so now you're naked, you've got this around your neck, your bulbs are secure, you've taken a shower, you get out, and then you need to start doing your wound care. So I would use a blow dryer on cool. You don't want to use hot because it can, I don't know, I just don't think it's good. I won't go into that. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to try and give any real great advice. But in my previous C-sections, I always used a blow dryer on cold and dried just a little bit to make sure there wasn't any leftover moisture. Anyway, I just made sure that the area was good and dry. Let it air dry for a little bit. And then, you know, the wound that I told you that was back here, the big part with the big stitches in it, use my Neosporin, put a pretty good pile on the tip of my finger and rub it. I would rub it all the way along that because that incision part doesn't have a steri strip on it. And then I'd come up to about here and stop because the steri strip ran along the long part of my arm. I'd also take a Q-tip and put Neosporin around the stitches here and the tubing that are coming out. Do that to both arms. I didn't use deodorant for the first few days because I didn't want to get the deodorant up around the fresh incisions. But after about day 4, I started figuring out how to strategically, after I put the Neosporin on and got that on, then I figured out where I could roll some deodorant, and that felt good to wear deodorant again. So, okay, now you've got, well, then I had to cut tape and gauze and put a piece of gauze to cover the length of the incision there and put tape over it to hold it in place good. That's so that shirts and these ace bandages and stuff don't rub against those stitches in the wound, okay? All right, so I got that done. Now here's the part that I couldn't do by myself. I would have my husband come in. I'd take the bulb, hold the bulb for this area on my hand, and put my arm out straight, and then he would do the ace bandage and wrap it around. There's a little trick to it, how you start and how you stop, and it's just based on which side the Velcro or whatever you're using on your bandage is. You don't want to get so tight that you cut circulation off, but having it too loose would not be of any point. So the idea is to keep it firm. I really can't tell you exactly why I wear this, but I think it serves a couple purposes. One is it keeps those layers of tissue underneath that are trying to groove together again and come together where the incisions are. It holds those together tight so that they're more likely to have a good connection and a better healing. And then I think it also has something to do with keeping the fluids or the swelling and stuff down. So we've got both arms wrapped back up in the ace bandages, and I'm holding bulbs in the hand. Then we, guess I could have showed you. My bulbs have a safety pin on them. So here's what the tubing looks like coming out when I say I'm holding the bulb. Usually I'll pull this up so that it's not hanging down. So that's exactly the full length of the bulb, okay? So we're wrapped in the ace bandage, and then I use the safety pin and I clip my bulb back on so I'm hands-free again. But see, you've still got this dangling down, which is a little dangerous. Ouch. So I pull it up, loop it over, and put the tape on. And usually I'll use several pieces of tape. You don't want to pin it down so tight that the fluid can't move freely through the band or through the tube though. But today I'm just going to use one because I'm headed to the surgeon's office to get these removed. One of the tricks of the band or the tubing, occasionally you can see how there's clear fluid up towards the front, has some red stuff in it, and sometimes that red stuff gets a little coagulated, and I think mine is today because this just started happening. There's a little seepage around the end of the tubing, and it's not pussy, it's clean, good fluid. It's exactly what's in my tubing, and what is happening is, I had this happen to this side a couple nights ago. There gets clogs in the tube, and so you have to, it's better to have somebody do it with you. If they put a little lotion on their fingertips, they can take their other hand and hold the tubing tight so they don't pull it out of your arm, and then they just move their fingers down the tube and push the clotty part back down into here. So that's what I'm doing. I'm a little backed up, I think, and these things are as ready to come out as I am ready for them to come out. So anyway, we'll put this back up here for now. That is how I changed my dressings on here. Now another thing that I had to do every day, the first few days I had to do this 4 times a day. And I used this big cup. That's what they gave me. It's got the markings on the side for how many mLs, cc's, mLs are the same thing. And it's to measure how much fluid has gathered in the bulb, and I had to keep track of it. So I think I showed you my sheet once before that they gave me that had 4 marks, you know, for each 4 times a day, and then the left side, the right side, and you kept track of it. And how you do that is you unhook your tubing like this. You pop the cork, and did you hear that? Did you see how that opened up? And I'm not going to dump this out actually, but this pulls back, and then you tip it up and you dump all that in there, and then you measure, see how much was in it, and go dump this out in the toilet. Then when you want to close this back up, you squeeze it good, you put the stopper back in it, and it looks like that. And then I hook it back in. Okay, so the first few days I used this because there was more drainage, and sometimes it'd get up to like 20 or maybe 30 cc's. Then as the drainage started to slow down, to get a more precise measure, I used this, and it breaks it down starting at, you know, 2.5 cc's, 5 cc's and on up, so I could get a more accurate measure when there was less fluid in there. So I've been doing this now. She told me to do it every 12 hours, so I was doing it at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. and keeping track of that. Let's see, what else? I have a sports bra with a tank over it. Once I get myself all put back together like this, then I would get the sports bra on, front closure, have my husband stretch it so that it didn't end up hitting my elbows. And then it was pretty easy to get a very loose tank on. I ran around the house, you know, in my first video, I said that a gown worked good, and it did, because it was too hard to reach around to pull pants down. So if you had a gown on, you could wear nothing under it, then nobody had to help you in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. Then I moved on to be able to wear some things like this. I also, because I didn't really want around, plus it's winter, even though it's been a nice week here, it's winter, so you can't really go around outside like this, and I wouldn't want to with my get up here. So I had an old flannel shirt of my husband's with big sleeves in it, ugly, but I wore this over the top of my stuff when I would go outside. And then today, I'm going to wear this Adidas jacket that's got plenty of room in the arms over the top of what I have on, and then I have on some black jogging pants. So this is what I'm going to wear to the doctor's office, and hopefully after today I won't have to look for such loose-fitting things that will allow room for my tubing. Another thing I've done is, if I wanted to, was to just, instead of hooking the bulb on here, I'd pin it to the front of my shirt and then put my arms inside of a coat. But you still have to contend with your elbows going into. So I hope that answers some of your questions. I'm sure there's something that I have left out, but since I'm going to go get these out in a few minutes, I wanted to make myself take the time to do this video, because I wouldn't be able to explain it as good once they were not there anymore. So I'm excited, ready to go get these out. They're held in, there's 2 stitches that are in my skin that help hold them in too. So anyway, I'm ready to do my before and after pictures. I've got the before pictures, but the after pictures, I guess it won't even really be after pictures for about 6 months. I guess I'll call them before and middle pictures, because I think there'll be some changes in what my arms look like today after I get these out, and what they'll look like maybe 4 or 6 months from now. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope that this was helpful. And again, this isn't an instructional video to teach anybody how to care for their own drains. You need to work that out with your physician. I just wanted to show you how I cared for mine. So that's how I did it. See ya.